Hi everyone, I'm with Angelo right now on the top of Monte Scalpello, and we are the 27th of April, and I just noticed, we're going to be telling you stories that happened on the 27th, 26th, and 27th of July 1943. So we're not in July, but it's still the 27th. It's very interesting. So just to give you a general idea, when the first division was going in through the Salso River Valley, the 3rd Brigade was told to remain in place near Radusa and Libertinia, and they're going to be stationary, and they will be the pivot point from where the remainder of the division will pivot east toward Nisoria and Ajira, while and so the remainder of the division will be on their left flank of the 3rd Brigade, and on their right flank will be the 51st Highland Division. And now what's going to happen is that the 1st Division is doing their eastward advance using the Salso River Valley, and the 3rd Brigade, going to eventually be part of the 78th Division, is doing a parallel advance on the same axis but following the Diteno River. And Angelo will be our expert to really give us the perfect description of those events.
We find ourselves in front of the site with a panoramic view of the operational area, where the soldiers of the Royal 22nd Regiment, the Vendus, fought. On July 24th, they moved to their start position at the Libertina train station, which is located to the west of this mountain, and they started their advance on the afternoon of the 26th. The regiment broke into its various companies, where one company climbed up towards Monte Scalpello, while the other company proceeded along the Ditano River towards Monte Santa Maria. The company that was charged with the attack on Monte Scalpello during the early part of the advance encountered a young woman that spoke French. She was able to reveal and identify the various German positions in this sector, and she told them that there were Germans here on the crest of Monte Scalpello. So at this point, they began the advance to attack the crest from west to east. On this slice of territory that dominates this part of the area. The Vendus' attack was opposed by various German positions that were armed with machine guns and one 88mm gun. Therefore, they fought throughout the whole afternoon, in times finding themselves in difficult situations. However, the arrival of another company allowed them to force the Germans to retreat all the way to Tantanoara. Therefore, the Germans abandoned the crest of Monte Scalpello on the evening of 26 July. We now find ourselves at the observation point to view the scene where the attack on Monte Santa Maria took place. This small hill, however so peaceful looking, would find itself between the advancing Canadians and Catenanuova. On this hill, the Germans established a stronghold in an attempt to decisively stop the advance. So the Van Doo company that was tasked with attacking the hill during the afternoon of the 26th was finally able to capture the objective in the evening. During the course of the night of July 26th and 27th, and throughout the day of the 27th, the company was able to resist the German counterattacks and hold the hill. However, during the evening of the 27th, the Germans launched a fierce counterattack that was supported by artillery. This action forced the company to retreat and abandon Monte Santa Maria. This had the effect that saw all three Van Doo companies regroup, in fact at a point right below us, here, at the foot of Monte Scalpello, where they received the order to halt in anticipation of a new attack. We find ourselves at the departure point of the West Nose for the attack on Catenanuova during the night of 29-30 July 1943. The battalion has been tasked to carry the village of Catenanuova. They descended the hill and moved forward, crossing the Gaetano River, and then moving towards the train station that was located near the inhabited center of the village. It is at this point that the combat began. However, it was later noted by the Canadian soldiers that they did not encounter any strong resistance on the part of the Germans. In fact, they will later learn that the German 923rd Fortress Battalion, which was charged with the defense of the area, will have previously withdrawn without any fight, effectively abandoning the battlefield. To oppose the Canadians, the Germans sent paratroopers who were located at Centuripe. They were able to counter, at least somewhat, the Canadian advance during the night of July 30th. But they later received orders to withdraw to partake in the preparations for the defense of Centuripe. At the same time that the West Novas were advancing on Catenanuova, the Van Doos relaunched the attack on Monte Santa Maria. The hill of Monte Santa Maria will be retaken during the night by the Van Doos, where they were finally successful in permanently dislodging the German troops from their defensive positions at the top of the hill. At this point, the Germans retreated to Hill 204, which is located a little to the right, north, of the hill of Monte Santa Maria. There, the Germans had two artillery guns, a 105mm and an 88mm. Thanks to a very heroic action on the part of the Van Doos, they were able to capture this possession. At the same time this was occurring, they came under attack from the paratroopers who descended from the hill just in front of us. However, the Van Doos were successful in pushing them back. This is how Catenanuova was captured, and from this moment the 78th British Infantry Division will be able to launch the attack on Centuripe.
By the looks of it, this old farmhouse must have been there in 1943. So the Van Doos left probably the line of departure around that red building at about like 1,000 meters from here. They approached the start line, and as soon as they hit the open ground, machine guns and mortars opened fire from the top of on the top of Saint Maria. Like right away, Captain Bouchard ordered some artillery fire on it, and then they started fire and movement, which perfectly by platoon through the open field, big rush to I'm pretty sure to this place, you know, like which offers a good cover from the enemy fire. On the way across, Captain Bouchard was mortally wounded by shrapnel, and Lieutenant Robitaille was wounded 3 times, once in the leg, stomach, and the arm before he fell. And not mortally wounded, but badly wounded. Then Lieutenant Laflèche, that was a reserve platoon, got hit in the hand, and there was only Lieutenant Simard left. Simard took over the company and reorganized the platoons, probably somewhere around here, because we're still about like 500-600 meters from the top. And from here, they started the assault on Mont Sainte Maria. So anyway, we're gonna climb up right now, and I'm gonna describe the battle once I get up there, and that'll be it for Santa Maria. It's pretty cool to be here right now. Pretty cool, dressed like I am. Okay, we'll see you on the top. You can't let the height of this feature deceive you, because the angle of the slope is probably at least 45 degrees, and it's freaking not easy, especially for an old guy like me. I'm gonna take a breather here. I'm not too far from the top, I hope. Forgot to bring some water. I'm gonna look thirsty like those guys in 1943 in a minute. Wow. I can't imagine even doing pepper pot up this hill, man. Crazy. And whew, mind you, I'm 60 years old and out of shape. These guys were like in 20s, full of piss and vinegar. I'm on the, finally reached the first stop, if you want. And I imagine if I'm coming from those fields, using a clever field and movement, you saw how steep it is. You know, I can manage to get to here and establish a good fire base with the rocks, Bren guns, unless there's already a German position here, which is very possible, and then take out those first positions, and I'll be good to carry out the attack to the top. I can establish a fire base, no problem. All right, guys, I'm on the top of Monte Santa Maria, and this was the objective of A Company, Royal 22e Régiment, 26 July 1943. They actually captured the hill. Unfortunately, because of they couldn't get resupplied of ammunition, food and water, and like me, they were probably very thirsty. They held actually the hill for counterattacks throughout the 26th, and eventually in the night of the 27th they had to pull out because they had no ammo, nothing left, and there was a fierce counterattack on the way. There was no way they could hold it. Resupply couldn't make it here because the engineers had to clear the mines for the roads, and anyhow, they pulled out. The hill was retaken on the 30th of July. Well, and you know, we gotta remember that Bravo and Charlie Company took Monte Scalpello and held it, and that was a brilliant fight. The West Nova Scotia Regiment took advantage of the Germans being busy with the Vendus, and they went around Monte Scalpello in the rear on the south ridge, and eventually, you know, like they're the ones who did the assault on Catania. So anyhow, this is the story of Santa Maria. Let me point out one more detail, is that during those 3 days, like from the space of 26 July to the 30th of July, like, you know, the actions for Scalpello, Monte Santa Maria and Catania, the Vendus have lost 74 men 18 killed, 1 officer, Captain Bouchard, and 17 members of the ranks. Yeah, so we need to remember those actions. Most of the time, 3rd Brigade gets ignored because we concentrate our attention on the remainder of the division on the Salso Valley. So I'm really happy to be here and be able to relive the actions a little bit of 3rd Brigade as well. At the beginning of Operation Heartgate, when the city of Catenanuova and the surrounding mountains and hills have all been secured and cleared of enemy, the 78th British Infantry Division will pursue their advance toward the town of Centuripe. And for this advance, the elements of the 3rd Infantry Brigade will provide the left flank security for the 78th Division, which will bring them in the valley and surroundings just in front of me. On the morning of the 1st of August, the West Nova Scotia Regiment receives the order to capture Mount Krishina behind me and will move forward to their line of departure for the attack to a house that is just on the high rise there at the valley. And at this time, oh, Dr. Plumeri, how are you doing? Ciao. Didn't know you were here.
Yeah.
Listen, well, since Angelo is here with us, and he's the expert of the area. Dr. Plumeri actually made all the maps of the area that we're using for our documentary. So if we're gonna let Dr. Plumeri explain to us the misfortune of the West Novas in the valley here.
The West Nova attack started from the house that is found in the valley, near the road that joins Catenanuova to Regalbuto. They received the order to advance along the left flank of the attack on Centuripe, having Monte Krishina as their objective. They actually received incorrect information because it had been stated by Regimental HQ Intelligence that the hill was occupied. However, this was not the case, because the fact was that the German paratroopers had received orders to spread themselves out along the ridgeline that runs from Regalbuto through Monte Krishina and into Centuripe. They were in fact already deployed in this area. So the West Novas advanced along the lower ridgelines with respect to Monte Krishina, arriving at about the midway point of the advance. What happened? Well, what happened was that they came under intense machine gun and mortar fire from the German paratroopers, who were spread out on the slopes of Monte Krishina. In fact, they were forced to halt and find cover. Only the contribution of the Vickers machine guns from the SLI succeeded in countering the German fire and made it possible for the West Novas to retreat. It was only on the 3rd of August that the West Novas were able to reach Monte Krishina. However, already on that same day, by the morning of the 3rd, Centuripe had been captured, which meant that Monte Krishina was no longer occupied by any enemy. Unfortunately, this meant that the whole operation was a mistake, and this battle had ultimately been unnecessary. It was a very costly mistake for the West Novas.
Yeah, it's a very sad day for that was a very sad day for the West Nova Scotia Regiment. This battle here, and even to this day, we're still wondering why this was necessary. Actually, 19 officers and men were killed during this operation, and 26 wounded. And this is the last combat operation of the West Nova Scotia Regiment in Sicily. From this moment, the 3rd Brigade will rejoin the rest of the 1st Division on their preparation for the advance toward Adrano. And the West Nova Scotia Regiment will be put in a well-deserved rest until we're going to be ready for the invasion in mainland Italy. So, Dr. Plumeri, Angelo, once again, thank you for being with us.
Thank you.
and for everything you do also to preserve the memory of our Canadians. We're all very thankful for that.
Thank you.
On the 10th of July 1943, when the 1st Canadian Infantry Division and the 1st Canadian Armoured Brigade landed on the beaches at Paquino, they were a green formation with no combat experience. But after 29 days of combat against first-class formations, they were a battle-hardened fighting division. They experienced their baptism of fire in Sicily in one of the most forbidden terrain in the world, in extreme conditions, over 300 kilometers, mostly on foot, of pure hell. In fact, General Montgomery will consider his Canadians the best division he has under his command and will rely on them for the invasion of mainland Italy. The Canadians have been chosen to be the leading element to land on the beaches at Reggio. So stay with us in our next episode as we continue to discover the Canadians' extraordinary feat of arms during the Italian campaign. For BIADD Dodgers of Canada, this is Roger. Thanks for watching. Custos Memoria.